Usually when we think about our place in the universe, the default scientific model kind of frames us as, well, spectators.
Right, yeah. Like we're just watching it happen.
Exactly. We operate under this assumption that reality is this massive, incredibly complex movie theater. The Big Bang was the opening sequence billions of years ago. The stars fused, the planets cooled into, recognizable shapes, and you simply happen to have a seat in the back row.
Just watching the final act unfold, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, it's the ultimate passive model of reality. We are the audience, the physical universe is the stage, and the two are just structurally independent of one another.
It's totally separate.
Right. Matter existed long before mind, and mind is just this localized, temporary byproduct of all that matter.
But occasionally you encounter a framework that just completely dismantles that theater. You look at the screen, and the geometry shifts.
Yeah, the illusion breaks.
It does. You realize you are not in the audience. You are in the projection booth. And more than that, you are actively writing the script as the light hits the screen.
Which is a huge shift.
It's massive, and that is the premise we are unpacking today. What if you aren't just living in the universe, but you are the underlying mechanism creating it right now?
It's a really radical paradigm shift, and honestly, that is exactly the mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
The goal today is to challenge those rigid boundaries we've drawn around physics, around the flow of time, and the actual mechanics of human consciousness.
Right. Moving away from the accidents.
Exactly. We are examining a transition from a universe of accidental existence to one driven by profound inherent purpose.
So the source material on the desk today is this really fascinating text titled 33rd DP Cosmic Fine-Tuning. Specifically, it's an exploration of a metaphysical and physical framework known as the Way of PoE.
Yeah, it's quite a read.
It really is. And right out of the gate, this text tackles cosmic fine-tuning. For you listening, you probably know the standard materialist line here. The cosmological constant is tuned to, 1 part in 10 to the 120th power.
Yep, that's the one. And the ratio of the electromagnetic force to gravity is perfectly calibrated too.
It's crazy. If you alter the strong nuclear force by a fraction of a percent, carbon never fuses in the hearts of stars.
And biology just never happens. None of this happens.
Right.
The parameters are sitting on a mathematical razor's edge. And the traditional defense mechanism the scientific community uses to deal with this, incredibly uncomfortable precision is the anthropic principle.
Which is essentially an argument of observer selection bias.
Right, yeah.
The anthropic principle says, yes, the fine-tuning is an absurdly lucky configuration, but if the universe wasn't configured this exact way, well, we wouldn't be here to observe it and complain about the math.
Right. It treats the fine-tuning not as a mystery to be solved, but just as a statistical prerequisite for us to even be having this conversation.
They're like sweeping it under the rug.
It really is. But the Way of PoE argues that the anthropic principle is an intellectual cop-out. It completely flips the script.
Oh, totally.
The text asserts that this delicate balance of forces is not a statistical anomaly or some, multiverse lottery win.
Right.
Instead, the fine-tuning is a direct manifestation of the universe's inherent mechanical tendency toward the emergence of consciousness.
So it wanted us here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The architecture was designed specifically to produce the observer.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because claiming the universe is rigged for life implies a rigger, right? It implies an architect.
It does.
It's the difference between walking into a house and thinking, wow, it's a crazy coincidence that the thermostat is exactly my preferred temperature and my favorite food is in the fridge, versus realizing, wait, I am actually the architect who designed this house before I walked in.
That is a perfect analogy, because when you're the architect, none of it is a coincidence. It's purposeful. And for the listener, this really challenges that awful feeling of being just an insignificant speck in a vast, indifferent cosmos.
Yes, that cosmic dread.
Exactly. Instead of an accident, it suggests this grand cosmic narrative where your existence is the entire point.
But how does the text move from the math is precise to the universe inherently wanted us here? Because jumping from precise physical constants to a conscious universe, that feels like a massive leap of faith.
It does sound like a leap at first.
Right. How does consciousness actually set a physical law like the speed of light?
Well, to bridge that gap, the text introduces the concept of the quantum mind field.
The quantum mind field, okay.
Yeah. It posits that consciousness is not a byproduct of complex biology.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, consciousness is a fundamental field permeating the universe, operating at the quantum level.
But wait, hold on. In standard physics, a field like the Higgs field or an electromagnetic field is a rigid mathematical construct.
Oh.
It has values at every point in space, it possesses energy, it obeys strict symmetries. How can a fundamental field possess something like intention or awareness without a biological brain?
It's a fair point.
Isn't this text just taking the concept of a creator deity, slapping the word quantum on it, and hoping it sounds scientific?
That is exactly where the skepticism should naturally go. It really is. But what's fascinating here is how the text actually grounds this in the mechanics of quantum mechanics, specifically wave function collapse.
Oh,
Yeah. So in the Copenhagen interpretation, a quantum system exists in a superposition of all possible states, right? Until it is observed or measured.
Right, like Schrodinger's cat.
Exactly. The measurement forces that probability wave to collapse into a single, definite reality.
Right, the act of observation mathematically forces the universe to make a choice.
Exactly. So the way of PoE takes that concept all the way back to the genesis of reality.
The Big Bang.
Yes. Before the universe had specific physical constants, before gravity had a specific strength or the speed of light had a specific limit, the cosmos existed as this macroscopic quantum superposition,
Like a blur of possibilities.
a fluid state of pure potential.
Yeah.
And the quantum minefield acted as the primordial observer. It was the necessary measurement mechanism.
Wait, so because a superposition requires an observer to collapse into a physical reality, the universe required a conscious field present at the Big Bang to, like, lock in the parameters.
Precisely. The field didn't just sit back and watch the Big Bang happen. It was structurally entangled with the initial singularity.
Wow.
The field's observation collapsed the infinite probabilities of physical laws into the highly specific, incredibly rare parameters required to eventually produce biological life.
That is wild.
It really is.
Yeah.
Matter and consciousness are not separate entities where one eventually evolves from the other. They are deeply entangled variables that define each other at the very genesis of reality.
Okay, so if the physical laws of the universe are basically the architectural blueprints collapsed into reality by this quantum minefield, that brings us to the moment the clock actually started ticking.
Yes, time.
Because if you lock in the parameters of space and matter, you also have to lock in the parameters of time. And the text gets heavily into the physics of time, specifically focusing on this idea of shattered symmetry.
And this is where the implications for everyday physics become profound. I mean, we experience time with a strict arrow. It is unidirectional.
Forward only.
Forward only. We have memories of the past, but we do not have memories of the future. But at the quantum level, most physics equations are time symmetric.
Meaning they don't care about direction.
Right, they work perfectly fine whether time flows forward or backward.
So why does the macroscopic world only move forward for us?
The way of PoE explains this through the breaking of initial symmetry. At the exact moment of creation, the universe possessed perfect gauge symmetry. But to generate reality, that perfect symmetry had to be shattered.
It had to break.
Yes. This initial asymmetry is what generated the forward flow of time we experience.
Let's visualize that mechanism, because symmetry breaking can be pretty abstract for people.
Definitely.
Imagine a perfectly sharpened tinsel balanced precisely on its tip on a completely flat desk. In that state, the system is perfectly symmetrical.
Right. It looks the same from all angles.
Exactly. There is no preferred direction, no left, right, forward, or backward that the pencil favors, but it is highly unstable. The microsecond it falls, that symmetry is broken, and a definite path is established.
It makes a choice.
Right. But the crucial part of this analogy isn't just that the pencil fell.
It is the energy transfer.
Exactly. When the pencil hits the desk, it releases energy in the form of sound waves, a tiny bit of heat, and physical vibration. That energy dissipates into the room.
And that is an irreversible increase in entropy.
You cannot undrop the pencil. You can't magically reverse the physics, suck the ambient heat and sound out of the room, and use it to stand the pencil perfectly upright again.
No, it's impossible.
The arrow of time is thermodynamically driven by that initial break in symmetry.
That thermodynamic mechanism is exactly what locks us into our forward trajectory. But the text proposes that this shattered symmetry did not just create a single arrow of time.
Right.
It suggests a multidimensional temporal landscape.
Right.
Hoy of PoE theorizes the existence of a reverse arrow of time.
Here's where it gets really interesting. because it specifically links this reverse temporal flow to dark matter and dark energy.
Yes, it does.
Which is fascinating, considering those two phenomena make up roughly, 95% of the total mass energy content of the universe? And we have absolutely no idea what they actually are.
None. We know they exist solely because of their gravitational effects. I mean, dark matter binds galaxies together, preventing them from spinning apart, while dark energy accelerates the expansion of the universe.
But we can't see them.
Right. They are completely invisible because they do not interact with the electromagnetic force. They don't absorb, reflect, or emit light.
Oh, they're just ghosts.
Kind of. The text theorizes that the reason this dark sector completely evades our sensory and instrumental perception is that its fundamental structure is operating on a reverse timeline.
Okay, let's dig into the mechanics of that interaction. So for you listening, imagine you have a universe where the visible matter, your body, the Earth, the stars, is moving forward through time, generating positive entropy. But intertwined with all of that, taking up infinitely more mass, is a dark sector moving backward through time. How do they interact without just, destroying each other?
The bridge is gravity. As we established, the equations of general relativity are time-symmetric. Gravity does not care which direction time is flowing.
It just pulls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mass curves spacetime regardless of the temporal vector. Therefore, forward-moving visible matter and backward-moving dark matter can exert gravitational influence on one another. They pull on each other, even as they pass like ships in the night across opposing timelines.
That is insane to picture. So you have these massive invisible structures flowing from our future into our past, shaping the gravitational scaffolding of galaxies we see today.
Yeah.
It suggests that our forward-moving perception is incredibly limited. We are essentially looking through a tiny keyhole at a single slice of a multidimensional thermodynamic engine.
It forces us to completely reevaluate the depth of reality. The universe's energy structure is overwhelmingly flowing in the opposite direction, while we ride this little localized current of forward-moving entropy.
Okay, so this brings up the most crucial question for you listening. I mean, it is intellectually stimulating to dissect reverse time vectors and quantum wave function collapses.
Sure, it's fun theory.
But if time is multidimensional, and a primordial conscious field designed the gravitational constants of the universe, what does that actually change?
Practically speaking.
Right. If I'm sitting in rush hour traffic on a Tuesday morning, what am I supposed to do with the knowledge that dark matter is flowing backward through time? How does this philosophical framework translate into actionable reality?
That is where the way of PoE shifts from theoretical physics to a direct call to action.
Okay.
The text is not meant to be abstract trivia. We connect this to the bigger picture. If consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of matter, but a fundamental field that shaped the universe, then your specific, localized consciousness is a node of that field.
So I'm a piece of the architect.
Exactly. You are not a separate entity observing the universe. You are the universe's mechanism of observation.
We are still collapsing wave functions.
Exactly. The universe didn't stop being created at the Big Bang. The collapse of probability into reality is an ongoing, continuous process. The source asserts that our thoughts, our focused intentions, and our actions have a literal physical impact on the unfolding of the macroscopic universe.
Wow.
It challenges us to embrace our role as conscious co-creators. By actively aligning our actions with synergy and harmony, we aren't just engaging in moral philosophy.
It's physical.
Yes. We are physically contributing to the realization of a more sustainable, mathematically optimized world. We are literally steering the thermodynamic trajectory of our localized reality.
The text actually utilizes a classic piece of literature to hammer this entanglement home. It quotes the poet William Blake. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
And under the framework of the way of PoE, that stanza stops being mere romantic poetry and becomes a literal description of quantum entanglement.
Right. When you look at a grain of sand, standard materialism tells you that you are looking at dead silica. But through this framework, that silica is the collapsed physical result of the quantum mind field.
Yes.
The macro and the micro are fundamentally entangled. You are seeing a universe that is a living tapestry, woven from a unified field where matter and mind are the exact same substance, just expressing itself differently.
Every localized action ripples through that entire tapestry. Your unique perspective is structurally required for the ongoing evolution of the cosmos.
It needs us.
The universe needs a mechanism to look back at itself, to measure itself, and to make localized decisions about its future trajectory. That mechanism is human consciousness.
So let's trace the architecture of the reality we've just mapped out here. We started by dismantling the anthropic principle, right? Rejecting the idea that our incredibly precise physical constants are a statistical accident. From there, we explored the mechanics of the quantum mind field, the primordial observer that collapsed the universe's initial superposition into the exact parameters required for life.
Yep, the initial setup.
Then we looked at how the shattering of perfect gauge symmetry released the thermodynamic entropy that drives our forward arrow of time, all while gravity serves as the time-symmetric bridge to a dark sector flowing backward.
Which is still mind-blowing.
It really is. And ultimately, we arrived at the profound physical reality that you are a localized node of this quantum field, actively co-creating reality in the present moment.
The implications are vast. But this framework also leaves us with a necessary extrapolation, one that pushes the boundaries of the text even further.
Oh.
We established that the quantum mind field acted as the observer at the dawn of time, and we established that the majority of the universe's energy operates on a reverse temporal vector. This raises an important question.
Okay, what is it?
It opens up the possibility of a closed causal loop. What if the quantum mind field wasn't a primordial state that existed solely in the distant past? If consciousness can scale and evolve, and if time can flow backward, is it possible that the field that collapsed the universe's initial probability wave is actually the collective, highly evolved consciousness of our own distant future?
Oh my God.
Right, reaching backward through the multidimensional temporal landscape to fine-tune the very genesis that would eventually give birth to it.
A self-actualizing cosmic loop. We are evolving forward through time precisely so we can eventually reach a state of consciousness capable of projecting backward through time, creating the exact parameters required for our own existence.
Exactly.
That is the kind of mechanism that completely rewires how you perceive causality. Well, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of reality.
It's been a journey.
It really has. The 33rd P cosmic fine-tuning source fundamentally challenges the limits of the standard model. So tonight, when you look up at the sky, try to drop the spectator model.
Yeah, don't just watch.
Don't look at the stars as distant, burning gas on a theater screen. Look at them and understand that you are looking at the collapsed probabilities of your own foundational mind. You are the architect. Keep exploring.